on a rotating, whirling, twirling rock in space that is just a fantasy in your head.
Comes to a light in the sky being a gas in a vacuum. Second law of thermodynamics violation, a violation of a natural law.
Of the chemtrails, they put little, these nanobot things, that come down, come inside of us.
Well, hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Shills, a group of YouTube creators and debunkers coming together for live roundtable chats, live debunks, guests, interviews, and so much more. Now, tonight's show, we have the Orphan Red special, where both debunks will be on Orphan Red, because let's face it, there's a hell of a lot of stuff to cover. We also have our Creators Corner spotlight, where we will be showing 1 Minute Debunk, a fantastic creator that everybody has to be watching. So let me hand it over to the ringleader of this crazy little circus, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Bojo.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you are. Welcome to the SillyShillShow. We are the Shills. Thank you to Dick Dawson for that amazing intro. How are you doing today, Dick?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Jim Bojo. And yourself?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thanks for asking. Now, have you been working on anything special that you'd like to tell the audience about?
Well, I'm just finishing the reboot of World Model Feud, where we're bringing in the new graphics and the new stage sets and so on and so forth. And I'm pretty close to being done, but a little behind due to working on the shills and stuff. So to everybody watching World Model Feud, we will have the new reboot set and ready very soon. Stay tuned.
Okay, well, that's fantastic news. Thanks very much. Everyone basically ought to get over to that channel and have a bit of a sub, frankly, because I'm looking forward to it, and I think you'll enjoy it when you see it too. Next on the list, we've got Dead Kennedy in Space. How are you doing, sir?
Ahoy, ahoy. I'm doing fantastic. I've had a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day in Canada today. I did some hardwood in the morning and early afternoon, and came back to relax to this show, which is such a wonderful break from the hard day I've been having.
Oh, well, that's very nice to hear. That's fantastic. Now, I've seen you making a few interesting Twitter posts this week, but have you got anything out that you'd like to talk about, sort of interesting stuff you want to share with the crowd?
I do want to mention the video I'm working on right now that I've been tweeting about.
Okay.
And I want to define it in one word, and I'd love to hear a one-sentence reaction from everyone.
Okay.
So, the video is about a movement that thinks pedophilia is a natural sexual orientation.
You want to what? No words.
Did I just hear you correctly? Kevin, could you please re-say that for the group?
The video is about a movement that believes that pedophilia is a natural sexual orientation.
Oh my God. Is 3 words all right? Jesus. This is the problem with the internet, I suppose.
This is a problem with a lot of things.
Well, look, you're hearing the yawning silence after that. You've clearly shocked us into submission. Does anyone have anything they want to add, or should I try and move on?
That sounds like something that somebody has said to try and justify their own feelings.
Right.
Exactly. Well said, Laura. I love it.
Very
Jim
well
Bojo, please continue.
Yeah, right. Keep it light. Keep it light. Right. Okay. So next we've got number 3 on the
sorry to
list. We've
bring
got
down
Anti-Flatter. You'll talk to us via your special time wormhole we've set up. How are you doing today?
Silly microphone. I'm all right, but sorry, mate. It's hard setting up this technology to go through the portals to talk to you people in the past.
Oh yeah, if we didn't have AB Science, we'd be screwed, basically. Thanks for helping us fix the flux capacitor, by the way. So have you got any material out this week that you want to tell people about, or maybe something coming up in the future you want to share with anyone?
We're still working on fixing that DeLorean after we had to get it struck by lightning on the clock tower, but once that happens, then I'll start getting some more stuff coming in.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'll look forward to that when that happens. Now, next on the list, we've got Logical Troglodyte. Have you killed any good mammoths lately?
No, my Monty Mammoth would get really upset if I ate mammoth ribs. We kind of stick to other things, like megaloinks and, megalosaurs and that sort of thing. We stay away from the mammoths for Monty's sake.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you. That's a very considerate thing to do. Happy to hear it. Is there anything you have coming up in the near future that you're willing to share with us that's not too close to your chest?
Oh no, I don't keep things close to my chest except my shirt. We just Babes and I barely escaped the clutches of the illogical troglodyte, as you saw a few days ago. I'm now having a 6-way collaboration with several people in the debunk community for a new episode of Flurfer Fairy Tales, which you have not visited since the Three Little Pigs. This one is by request from a viewer from 2 or 3 months ago for Jack and the Beanstalk spoof.
Ah, that's very interesting. Well, I'll be checking that out myself as soon as it's ready, basically. Thank you very much. Next, let's go to AB Science, our in-house expert on pretty much anything. Have you got anything bubbling away back at the debunking lab that you'd like to tell people about?
That's all I can say after hearing what Dead Kennedy in Space just said. But yeah, so I released a video today where I shared some results from a thought experiment I did about what the sun, the impact it would have on a flat Earth. It's quite.
Oh, that's why. Okay. No more audio
I
problems.
don't know if that's a good sign or bad. Shall I carry on?
Yeah, everything's good. Do not panic.
We're good?
Yeah.
Excellent
do not
stuff.
panic.
All right, cool. Well, in that case, I'm going to move on to...
Cool. Well, if we're back to audio, I do want to take 2 seconds because I need to shout out to Rider of Dinosaurs because he mirrored one of my videos.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, I mean, look, at Rider of Dinosaurs is someone we discussed about bringing on the show in the Creators Corner. For one reason or another, his time frame means that's probably not going to be possible. But for that reason, I'd quite like to stop and just take a moment to say, if you haven't subscribed to Rider of Dinosaurs, you should get over to him now. He's doing a lot of really interesting stuff and some funny work as well. So really get over there and have a little look. Next, I'm going to move on to
ask one question.
Yeah.
Does logical troglodyte make the dinosaurs for Rider of Dinosaurs to ride?
No, they're totally unrelated.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Doesn't
well,
he-
never mind.
Did they get separated by continental drift?
Excellent point. Yeah. Right, where are we? I'm on list somewhere. I've lost it. No, Jumpmonk the drunk monkey. Oi, oi, sir. How are you? You there, mate?
Yeah, man. I'm fucking here,
have you got anything special coming out this week you want to tell people about? Because I think you have.
Well, yeah, I'm waiting on Constable Conspicuous, as you know. That's I've sent my part on that. But yeah, I've got a big Danny Pratt destroyal, dismantling, fucking in the what you know. Together, you know, of our favorite, dumbest, fucking stupid things he said, and then just fucking destroy the, you know, destroy him. Hopefully, he'll just leave.
Yeah,
Sorry,
well, that would
guys
be
and
the
girls.
dream,
Sound
wouldn't
has
it?
gone again. Oh, now it's back.
Okay.
Oh, are we okay?
Yeah, we are. Sorry.
Ladies and
It went
gentlemen, we are
and it
currently
came back.
experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by. So, are we doing
Yeah,
all right? Are we ready to go?
Yeah, that was only for a split second.
Did you
That's
not hear what I
because
said then?
Yeah, just repeat that last bit. It was each source needs its own audio now, so I have to go through that.
Okay. You got it all good?
Okay,
Excellent.
so shall I go back to ask Chuck Monkey a couple of
Yes.
questions so we can get that
Yes,
back out to
yes.
the audience then,
Yeah.
yeah? All right, then, well, I'll say the same thing again. Chuck Monk, the drunk monkey. Oi, oi!
Oi, fucking oi!
Oi, fucking oi. How are you,
Is that
Guido?
better? I'm good,
Yes,
man.
mate. Good.
Yeah.
So you got something special coming this week. Why don't you tell people about it a
So
little bit?
yeah, well, the Danny Pratt special with Sean Hawkins. We're gonna get 3 to 4 videos each, and just like of our favorite fucking dumb fuck things that he said or proposed. And there's a lot of them, you know, but there's a few of my favorites. And then we're just gonna fucking destroy him. We're gonna fuck him so hard, as I said in the promo. He's gonna go running out of that basement into his mummy's arms, and mummy's gonna have to rub it better for the next fucking year.
That is so cool, man. I cannot tell you how much I'm looking forward to that. That will be amazing.
Do you know what though?
Um,
The amazing thing is, those that have seen the video, if you watch it again, just the Sean bit, the look in Sean's eyes is
Oh,
brilliant.
right.
I love it. It's like almost like you know, like delight.
Yeah, we're going to take
Brilliant.
a piece out of this guy.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, look, moving on. As part of our continued commitment to excellence, we've got our newest and biggest guns in the arsenal. Firstly, we've got the incomparable turquoise Laura out there. Hello, can you hear us?
Hello, good evening.
How are you doing tonight?
Not too bad, just recovering a little bit from so far, but yeah, not too bad.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Well, Turquoise Laura is going to be basically listening out for comments in the chat for us. So if you've got any questions you want to ask us at her, send them along. You can do it in the Discord or in the side chat, and she'll make sure those messages get to us. Also, one of the other voices that you heard was Looker Pig, who sort of kept ducking in the background. Are you out there, Pig?
Sorry, there's a little bit of a fire, and there's some really big ants.
Oh, wow, that's terrifying. Well, look, I won't interrupt you any further, but hello and thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of the new Shill family. Cool, right. Lastly, I'm Jim Bojo and I talk to people. This week I'm talking to 3 more important interviewees, but if you want to know more, you'll have to tune in. Right, this week's going to be a good one. It's a slightly risky endeavour. We're doing an Orphan Red special, yeah. What do you think of that? Unfortunately, she has a bit of a habit of copyrighting striking people who use her material, even if it's quite legally. So we will start by explicitly stating that the copyright legislation of the nations of all party in this event allow for the fair use of copyrighted material on the grounds that we are subjecting it to review, comment, critical evaluation, and educational dissemination. Although we don't even need to say that for it to be legal, but still. So if you don't like it read, you can argue the toss with 5 separate sovereign nations. Good luck. We've chosen 4 clips of hers to review today. A couple of twofers. First up, Orphan Red is going to teach us about what science is, and then she'll tell us how all our observations are wrong and silly. If you have any comments or questions, again, as I said, don't forget to pop them in the side chat to Turquoise Laura. We'll make sure we have a chance to read them out. Now, with that in mind, Dick Dawson, why don't you introduce us to the smorgasbord of stupid that we've got lined up for the people at home?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are going to look at 2 different sets of clips from Orphan Red. Now, we all know Orphan Red and her scientism and scienters and yada, yada, yada. But we're going to cut to it in the way that the shills do. We're not going to look at the person. We're going to look at the argument and what is said, and we're going to do it properly. So, without further ado, why don't we get ready and get into the first video? What do you say, Pig? You want to cue it up for us, and let's have at it.
The silence is very terrifying.
Well, you know, to everybody listening, this is those growing pains. Here we go. Yeah,
Okay,
there we go.
Well, I already had it already and queued. Just have to hit that play button.
Yay, hit
Excellent.
play.
Right after I do
And
one
let us
small
see it.
thing. All right,
Can you
it's
let
going
us see
out
it?
right now. I'm not breaking anything. You're breaking something.
Shall I sing a song? Shall we?
No. I just had to make sure
No,
my
no.
settings.
Last
for
time
OBS
Canadian
was
Thomas
correct.
sang a song, it got us in trouble. Especially about Orphan Red.
It's funny. I was just typing to BM Furball because he's got an interview with Mark Sargent, and one of the little spots in the interview sounds like a song to me. So I think it's coming. Oh yeah. Time to exercise the world model or the Canadian Thomas account and get some stuff done.
Absolutely. Well, I've been looking forward to seeing a new World Model Field or Canadian Thomas video. It's been a little while, isn't it? It's
And
exciting
here
stuff.
I'm looking forward to them.
Go.
I actually have a song that will be posted in the next couple of days. It's I did Tom Petty, Don't Do Me Like That for Anthony Bailey's channel. And I didn't want to mirror it right away and take any traction away, so I left it for a while.
Sure.
But that'll be on my Canadian Thomas channel in the next couple of days.
Oh, excellent stuff. Well, you know, because I'm an exclusive member of the Shill Society, of course, I've had a little sneak peek of that, so I can tell people who are watching that I think they're going to enjoy that one when it comes out. That is another brilliant piece of art that you've created, mate, with your mad singing skills and your sort of musicianship. Now, it looks to me on screen like we're pretty much ready to play up that Orphan Red video.
It looks
Pig,
like
what do
we
you
are.
reckon, man?
Oh God, she's wearing the dress that my wife doesn't like.
Oh. We'll hear the yelling in the background from the barman.
Mrs. Science described it as the recycling bin bags you get round in my area.
Funnily enough,
Yeah,
my
do you know
wife
what?
described it as something similar. She said it looks like she's taken a white bin bag and tied it together with a bit of garden wire.
Well, now, hold on, because I know for a fact that Jump Monk's come up with an even better description than that, haven't you, mate?
Yeah, it looks like a fucking charity bag.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
The thing
They get
is,
left out
right?
on
It
my
doesn't.
floor every
The thing
week.
is, it doesn't suit her. But it's not. It's not that it's anything to do with her. That wouldn't suit anyone. It's fucking hideous, right? But the thing is, like, with Orphan Red, she's actually a really pretty girl. You know, she's not for me, but like I can see why guys would go for her. But to wear that, Orphan Red, the only time I'd wear that is when you're just in your house, not on camera or outside.
Mate,
Well,
I hope
as I
you
recall-
never wear that.
Huh?
Hey, hold on. If we can, let's turn to Dead Kennedy in Space here. What are your thoughts on the presentation of that outfit being what she wears to present her video?
I don't have anything quite as creative as everybody else said. To me, it just looks like a cheap prom dress that she bought for $2 and it was worn once on a very sad occasion.
It looks like some dodgy nurse's outfit that you'd buy in a joke shop in England.
Well,
I
as
have
I
to
recall
say it would
from
be
that
a sad,
stream, 'cause
bloody occasion.
I covered that video. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, it's nothing
Okay.
special. It's just I would say it would be a sad, bloody occasion.
Ooh.
Less of that, please.
Yeah.
This is a family show, as much as we swear like bastards. Right, so should we play the video again? Let's see what comes up
Actually,
next.
roll the video.
Yeah, roll
Yeah,
the video.
Okay, Pig, give her a go for us, buddy.
And open-minded about why we should reject the global Earth model.
Already,
That's
I've got to ask you to stop. I'm sorry. But look, when she accuses people of not being open-minded, what she means is, I don't agree with you. That is literally her only point, right? As soon as someone says, well, look, I'm willing to accept your point of view, but I'm going to have to subject it to critical analysis, and I'm afraid it's come up short. Oh, now you're not open-minded all of a sudden. What the hell, man?
You don't
Well,
fill
it's a
my
thing you
echo
see in many
chamber.
communities.
Sorry, what's that, AB?
It's a thing you can see in many communities, right? And I would like to kind of use the example back in my younger days. I used to tour around in a metal band, and I'd be hanging around with lots of metal musicians and stuff like that. And a lot of the guys were like, "Oh yeah, you've got to be so open-minded to metal," and talking about how people are not open-minded enough to enjoy heavy metal music or something like that. But these motherfuckers were the most closed-minded people when it comes to music I could think of, right? As soon as you suggest the idea of a
And all through the
synthesizer or
90s.
something like that, they will shoot you down.
I
And
know
it was
that.
just like the groups that always talk about having to be open-minded, they're generally some of the most closed-minded motherfuckers you will meet.
Well, absolutely.
you
Now,
know-
before we all pile in, I think I heard Sarcastic Barman try to cut in just before as well. What did you have to say, mate?
Oh crap! What was I going to say? I forgot.
Oh,
No,
well,
I was
don't worry,
going to
I'll ask
say
you
I
on the
remember this
next one.
video.
Yeah.
And how she goes on about how much difficulty she had trying to do a corset on her own. So it was back to the dressing thing, but how she's making this conscious decision to dress to fulfill her audience's perceptions. But then back to the science side, I can't remember what I was going to say. I did have something in my head, but never mind. Keep going.
Absolutely. Let's roll the video and see what else she says. It's ridiculous.
I just had a question for AB while he brought it up. Did you grow your hair long?
Me growing my hair long?
When
no,
you got into
not
heavy
really.
metal?
No, I
me
didn't.
neither.
I
And
can't pull it off those locks.
No, me neither. And I got into Sepultura. Anyway.
Oh, they're
crack on.
amazing. Sorry.
Do you know?
All right, let's not devolve this into a conversation about metal because I'm a bit closed-minded about non-metal music. Let's roll that VT.
Because that's the thing, right? Like, I think one of the ways we know, one of the ways that science has become scientism, right? This blind faith religion that's rigid, that rejects heretics. So if you come up with a theory that goes against what the mainstream ideology is in scientism, you're really pushed out.
Okay, hold on.
I
was going to say,
I want to know whether or not AB Science wants to cut in ahead of me, more importantly, frankly, but that is such a rage-filling sentence for me. She's literally completely misdescribed it. Like, it's the opposite of what science is, right? I'm not the only one who thinks this, am I?
No.
absolutely.
I just said it was bollocks.
Barman, what was that?
I was going to interrupt on the behalf of AB Science because he has told us in the past he basically gets paid to debunk other people. So if I throw it to him, he will explain far better than I will.
Well, absolutely. AB, have you got an opinion on the subject?
Well, yeah, it's quite simple, right? And I've said this before, right? Our job as scientists is to take a theory and we test it, right? We try and disprove it, or we try and push it to the limit. So there's a very common technique, and that's the one I use in my current research, and it's called reductio ad absurdum, and that is to take a particular idea and then push it to the extremes to see where it falls down, and that allows us to make certain predictions. And if those predictions, according to the theory, do not hold up to experiment, then that shows that you need to revisit the theory.
Sure.
Right? And it's simple as that. And that's the whole endeavor of science. You know, she seems to have this idea that we go to work and we spend our day backslapping and congratulating ourselves on how brilliant we are. But no, it's a brutal endeavor. And
Indeed.
we have to challenge everything we know.
Well, quite. I mean, she hasn't. Essentially, the idea. One of the very first things she said was why we should reject it. She instantly decided to shut it all into one box as it was, and then has characterised it in entirely the wrong way, as you point out quite eloquently. Now, is there anyone else who wants to cut in before we move on? Because there's just a little bit she's about to say that's very relevant. I thought we'd like to hear.
Yeah, let's get to that next point for sure.
Hang on.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, Kevin.
Just one short thing I want to say.
By all means.
AB Science mentioned reductio ad absurdum. That is like the basis of the flat earth cult when they say you think you're a monkey on a spinning ball.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, it's not, because that is a straw man, because that's not the argument, right? What they're doing is committing a logical fallacy by stating that, and reductio ad absurdum is not fallacious at all. It is a very standard approach into analyzing a theory, or in testing the proof of a mathematical theory, a theorem, and testing scientific theory. What they're saying with you're a monkey on the surface of a spinning ball, that is not reductio ad absurdum. That's just a straw man fallacy.
Isn't it more like an argument from personal incredulity? They're saying you believe something that I personally think is ridiculous sounding.
That is as well, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. We've sorted something out. It's lovely when someone makes an interjection and we're all able to sort of come to a fairly reasonable conclusion at the end of it by using the facts and reason and logic. Isn't that marvelous? We should teach someone like Orphan Red something like that. Anyone got anything they want to add before we hit play again? Lovely stuff. I'll just hit play then, if that's possible, Pig.
Go for it.
Pushed out all these physicists who try to challenge the mainstream rigid ideas in scientism are pushed out. They're not published, or they speak at a conference and nobody goes to their speech. Nobody asks questions. Everyone just ridicules them or mocks them, or worse yet, they just ignore. If you publish a paper in science,
well, no, hold on then. Isn't it possible that the reason that this is happening to these people is basically because their ideas are either poorly explained or don't work or are disprovable by some means? It's about irrelevance. Like in the scientific community, if you can't get published, it's because your paper has no merit, not because they're trying to force you out of the discussion. The chances are they'll yeah.
Ideally, that would be the case. However, I have experienced situations where I know my reviewers, one of my reviewers was from a competing group, and I'm in direct competition with them, and they were very nastily trying to shut down the paper. But, and this is the key point, there was a point where they could no longer justify their objections to my paper, and therefore it was published. But she's going to go into an example shortly, and I will use that example to kind of describe how she is wrong.
Okay, well, let's hit play again and see what that is.
No one responds to it. No one reviews it. No one builds on it. It's like it never even existed, right? If no one cites it, it's just into the oubliette of science history, and that's a very powerful way.
Oubliette toilet.
I mean, I think the point is that she's just saying things that are so extraordinarily wrong that every single one of us is almost speechless. It's very difficult to debunk something when she's just saying that is flat out the opposite of the truth.
It's like the problem.
Well,
sorry.
It is just like her ass is underneath her nose.
Yeah, quite.
Well,
a tumbling cascade of truth deserves only one flushable destination.
Yeah, I'm in quite a good position because this is one of her videos I've already done.
Yeah,
I know in the video she talks about a couple of scientists and going, these scientists, they don't get reviewed, their papers don't get done, they don't get cited.
This is Halton Arp, isn't it? And
yeah, well,
the Russian fellow, Alexander Unziker.
And we found the scientists who's on about. They are getting citations, even though she says they're not. They are getting published. They are getting reviewed. They are speaking at conferences. One of them has been publishing books that are getting reasonable reviews on Amazon and things like that, even from a non-science perspective for layman's, should we say, like myself and other people.
Like a monkey.
So these people she's saying aren't getting like seen or anything like that. They are. It's
well,
just
indeed.
Their ideas are not, well, they're not mainstream. They're not getting as much traction as she thinks they deserve, because some of the ideas aren't working out.
So for the maybe for the audience, let's just roll the VT until she actually talks about that thing.
Sure, it's about to happen.
Yeah, I'll be fair, I haven't watched this full clip.
Yeah, let her roll there, Piggy. Let's do this.
Scientists have of silencing dissent because they won't even argue with you to say why they think you're wrong. They just ignore you completely, and that's a terrible thing that scientism does. The first group that showed that the diameter of the proton was wrong by, I think it was orders of magnitude. Like, I think it was 100 times the actual.
No, it wasn't.
The actual size was 100 times.
It wasn't. No, that's all.
Greater than the size that was accepted as truth.
The fact
She's
is, what she's referring
exaggerating.
to. Hold on. Now, look, very quickly. The fact is, what she's referring to is this iterative process of science that changes through the generations and refines results. And what sometimes happens is we're wildly over, and then the next one's wildly under. But then, as we go further on, we sort of pinball our way closer and closer to that perfect line of truth until we get such levels of accuracy that we can build a spaceship or go to the moon or things like that. So yes, she's right in a sense that we've made mistakes in the past, and she's right in that we even have errors now, like the quantum vacuum catastrophe. There are things we need to discover, but over time what happens is we just tend to get better and better and get closer and closer to a true answer. Like you may have noticed at the age of the universe, the differences between each new estimate have got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, to the point where they just shifted it from 13.7 to 13.8 billion years approximately. But at this point we're sort of cutting the fractions.
But
Yeah,
I mean, what you're saying is people used to actually think the Earth is flat, but that was a long time ago, guys. Fucking get over it.
A very, very long time, 2,600 years or more.
Yes.
I mean, for God's sake, we really can tell. Right, should we roll on with the VT?
By
Yeah, a
scientism,
few seconds
right?
because she'll make a point.
The first group, they were mocked and ridiculed. They were put down, and they were kind of then ignored because people said,
Okay, that's it, right there.
There we go.
So what she's saying is that there's a group which found that the previous measurements of the proton were off by a factor of 100. Firstly, I think she is talking about the proton radius problem, and if that is correct, then she's completely wrong. It was wrong by a factor of 0.05. Right now, that is a significant difference. Right, that's a huge difference, considering the error margins we previously had. But it was previously established using two different methods of measuring it, and this group that came out with it measured it slightly different by bombarding deuterium with muons. Now, you are probably going to get different results, and it could very well be that there's some stuff that we need to revisit in current theory, right? Because these discrepancies, it doesn't match up with what we know, and there's several hypotheses around what could cause this. But she's making a point that these people were ignored. But let's just point out that the original paper was published in Nature. Now, for people I don't know, it's an impact factor 40 journal, which is, let's just say, an impact factor 3 is considered very good. Nature is the highest ranked journal, or magazine in this case, if you're going to be anal about it. It is the highest ranked journal in science. It was published in there, and then in a minute she will talk about a repeat of that experiment. This was published in Science, which is, I think, around the second highest ranking journal in terms of impact factor.
Absolutely.
And then shortly after that, it was featured on the front cover of Nature, again, in the news section. They are not being ignored.
Quite. That's a very well made point. Exactly. Now look, before we just crack on with the video to the next bit, there's a couple of voices we haven't heard from too much so far. I wondered whether or not, firstly, Anti-Flatter, did you have anything you wanted to add to the table at this point?
Unfortunately, following talks from AV Science, I'm just going to sound like a muppet, so I'll leave it for the smart guys for now.
Well, no. Actually, if anything, I'm quite happy to have a layman's perspective on this, because it's often from a slightly different angle. He's analysed the sort of the cold hard facts of it. What's your sort of emotional response, say?
Well, the only thing I'm thinking is, where is she coming up with her information for all of this? Because it seems so far it's just absolute bollocks.
It does seem like it, doesn't it? Now, look, is there anyone else on the table? A Dead Kennedy in space.
Yes,
I know
I have something. I have something that I should have
said
said to the audience in the beginning. Everybody should head to their kitchen right now and get a very large bowl, because the serving of word salad that's about to come at you from this person is so insurmountably huge that you're going to need a really big receptacle.
Right, there's not enough slices of bread to help force this lockdown in the world. What's
I'd
that?
recommend an oven mitt.
Well, I think the best person to ask is the barman. I mean, he's the expert.
Oh, I'm not an expert on earth, thank God, but I would recommend an oven mitt because face palms are to come. And
Yes,
if you don't have an oven mitt, maybe several towels, put them on your desk if you're washing at a table.
Yeah.
I strap
and
I
an ice
strap the
pack may
mattress
be
from my
required.
well, I strap the mattress to my bed onto the table. That way I can bang my head on the desk all day long.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
I've made a precaution of tying my hands around my back. The only problem is that I can't drink my beer anymore, so I've poured it out in a bowl and I'm just licking at it like a cat.
Yeah, excellent plan. That sounds safe and healthy and safe. Okay, so look, before we just crack on, there's two more people I want to hear from. Firstly, Dead Kennedy in Space, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same as Andy Flatter in that following everything AB said, nothing I'm going to say is going to sound smart.
Oh, Matt,
however,
we'll have to stop AB speaking so soon. We'll have to let a couple of people come in first, and then you can come in afterwards to throw some knowledge at us then.
However,
What do you say there, Pig?
Yeah, sorry. However, what was that? Sorry.
AB may be able to help me with this because I have a question. Even if she were correct about us not measuring the length of a photon correctly, is that what it was?
It was the radius of a proton.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard photon and my mind got stuck on the speed of light. If Orphan Red admits that we know the speed of light, then we know that the moon is 238,000 miles away. End of story.
Exactly.
Indeed. Well, there's one more voice. There's one more voice that we haven't heard from in quite a while now. Logical Troglodyte, are you out there, mate?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I was having a problem with my mute button. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering how many scientific conferences has she been to? You know, because I've been to a few. I know AB's been to a lot more than I have. You know, and they argue and they pound the podiums at each other, and and they try to falsify each other. But they don't ignore each other. Not at all. Usually, at this point in a Flurf's argument, they'll want to bring up Nikolai Tesla. And he's a prime example of sort of what she's talking about. He was wanting to do the free energy thing, right? But he falsified himself over and over and over and over, but he couldn't let go of it. Eventually, after you get defalsified so much, it's time to move on and find another theory to deal with,
Yeah. It's a shame, really, but you're absolutely right. He had an unusual view of electricity in that he wasn't convinced that the electron was even a thing. And he was more of a sort of a hands-on engineering type person where he'd create machines to just do different things with electricity just to see what would happen rather than working on the pure theory alone. But having said that, he did come up with some amazing inventions. It was a really interesting chap, like.
He was an interesting chap. He was a fucking nutter towards the end
Yeah,
of
he
his
was.
life, but he was far from ignored, right? He was far from ignored. The most important unit in my field in which I work is called the Tesla. He is not ignored.
No, he is everyone's heard of him. How could he possibly have been ignored? Like him and Edison had this huge war. They're like the two most famous early electrical engineers in history, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, look, I think we've heard from everybody. Let's hit play and get on with the video, shall we? Any complaints, or is that all right?
No, let's do it.
I have one small little thing about what
Sure.
Logical said about him, essentially harming himself. Are you saying that he did not talk to Martians? Or are you saying that's false?
Awesome. Let's hit that play button.
Clearly, you must have done it wrong. You tried using new instruments, and clearly you don't know what you're doing, so we're just going to ignore you. And it wasn't until, I think it was a decade later, and a decade is a long time for these kinds of things, right? Because there's a lot of research being done over the world, and if the diameter of the proton is wrong.
It took us several thousand years to work out gravity and another 400 to get to Einsteinian. It's, 10 years is very fucking fast.
It's not uncommon for somebody to spend decades, not a decade, but decades of their life in pursuit of the goal that they scientifically set out to do.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's a lifelong process. That's why it's a career and a vocation rather than just a job, It's something you sort of commit your life to.
Do you know, some people don't even get there.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean? They spend their entire life and they never they never find out what they set out to find out. They find out a lot of things, but yeah.
I know. All those
I
poor
mean,
guys who we found
to-
the truth years
to
after they
kind of-
died.
We got a good comment from Stephen Cup of Reason. Fair and open opportunity to present any argument is the basis of achieving scientific consensus, in my opinion.
There you
Yeah,
go. It's not
absolutely.
just his opinion.
Rock and roll.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But so there's a few points. Like, firstly, I want to talk about the 10 years. It's not a long period of time, right? The equipment that they've set up to perform these measurements, it would take you about 5 years to set it up and do acceptance testing of it, right? There will be several PhD students whose entire PhD will be about setting up this equipment, right? It's a long time. Now, secondly, yes, it's the fair, open discussion. You've got to present your ideas and everything. That's fine, and that's good, and that's encouraged in science. But you have to remember, and she treats that as people being ridiculed, but the process of science is simple. There's a theory, and if you present something that challenges that theory, you don't blindly accept it, because there is a burden of proof. And there's a nice little saying within kind of my group which says everyone can piss on it, and if it comes out on the other end dry, then it's a good idea.
That's a beautiful little expression you guys have come up with. I'm very impressed by that. I'm going to be telling people about that a lot. Are there any final
What's
comments
happening when
before we hit
scientists
play again?
ridicule each other.
Right, should we crack on?
That affects so
Excellent
many
stuff.
other things, right? And so many other calculations, so many other experiments, so many other interpretations of findings of science experiments. And so it took, I think, like a decade for another group to say, excuse us, but we also found that the diameter is like 100 times greater than the established measurement. And
She's just making it up.
and they actually didn't. The second group didn't do it alone. Actually, they were too scared. So it was actually two groups that were somehow related, and they came forward together to say, "Look, we also found this, but they did too. It's not just us."
Hold on.
They
hold
also
on.
are
She
back.
sounds really well informed on the subject, doesn't she? Like, she's really gone out and researched all the details of the group. She's got names, dates, faces, and results. It would seem that if you were trying to present a coherent narrative, you'd have at least one or two fucking details. At the moment, it sounds like, and it looks like, she's just sort of pulling words out of the air. Am I the only one who thinks this?
No, we all do. Yeah.
Jesus,
I'm just thinking, you got those books in the background. I'm sure all she's ever done is just read the cover, and that's it.
That's my trick.
Yeah, I bet somewhere in the back. I bet somewhere in the back she's got a fucking library of Cole's notes, and those are the ones she reads.
Oh, mate, don't you get us off the air.
I'm sure
Right,
in one video she had silver foil on that set of shelves.
Picking us up
It
on
wouldn't
this.
It should be
surprise
on her
me.
head.
But then is it because she's crazy, or is it because she just likes to dress everything up like she's a 9-year-old dressed as a princess? She
I
does
think
seem
she's
to enjoy
crazy.
that look.
I
All
don't
right,
believe she's,
let's go.
she's that
Oh,
stupid at all.
sorry,
Hold on,
Laura.
hold on. Laura, what was that?
Everybody. I don't think she's that stupid at all. I think she's a
No.
very smart woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is
my
very smart.
theory is she went to like drama school because she knows how to present it.
I see. I would love to know how she responded to a psychopath test, because I get this sort of haunting suspicion that what's going on there is that she has that sort of cunning ability to just weave any emotion onto her face in order to manipulate people. I can't imagine that someone smart enough to do what she does could be stupid enough to believe the things she believes, and yet she is doing a monetized channel. I mean, look, follow the money. I know it seems like a simple sort of conclusion, but if you ask me, she's manipulating people by selling a story which will specifically pull out the really gullible ones so she can fleece them.
Yes.
Yeah.
We also
Sorry,
We have
I would
a-
just like to point out that yes, I do think Orphan Red is actually a really smart person, and again, this is something I've said before. It's nothing new. It takes creativity and intellect to be a true, proper charlatan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at Joseph Smith.
We have a comment here from Victoons Entertainment. Sorry, dude.
glad you did
Victoons Entertainment. That's it. Just something random. Does anyone notice when a flurf presents a Zoom video of a boat, when you watch them zoom back out, the boat doesn't start disappearing bottom first?
Which you
Right?
would
Yes,
assume
I have
is
noticed
actually what would
it
happen,
is
right?
on my list.
Yeah,
I have
that
noticed
whole
this, it is
angular
on my list of topics.
resolution. Yeah, they don't get that one. That's good. So
Well,
anyway,
look,
Big,
some
what
of
do
the
you say?
videos that come up will mention that. So before we sort of dive too deep into that subject, maybe that should come up when Orphan's talking about some flat Earth stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of Orphan, why don't we hit play and hear more of this word salad?
Found this,
Yeah,
but
that's a
they
good
stated
idea.
too. It's not just us. They also are backing us up on this, right? And there's that fear that if they had just come alone, what had happened to the previous group would have happened to them. Their careers would get sidelined. They'd be like, "Oh, you guys are those crazy people that tried to say that this established truth fact of the proton's diameter was wrong. Like, oh, you're just too controversial. We're not going to hire you as professors at our university," right? And so that happens a lot more than you think. A lot of what you read about what science says, it's not
Evidence
true.
needed, citation, please. Demonstration would be nice. I know it's a simple claim, and I say it at least once a week, but she's just made a bold-ass assertion of fact without any fucking justification, and I would just love to see what she's got on the books that would prove that true, or at least give me a high level of confidence that it was accurate.
Why is she afraid of her webcam? Not what like her webcam's taped over. Why? Why are you afraid?
Taped
of your
over,
webcam?
did you say?
Well, look at it. There's a big sticker on it, going around the laptop.
Oh, I see what you mean. I wonder what she's been up to that she doesn't want people seeing.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I once got told by a data analyst specialist that the best way to secure my laptop was to put a postage stamp over the webcam, and I followed that advice.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mine's
Yeah.
disabled unless I'm using it.
Yeah, in tech support, we always tell people to
think
put
it
a
is?
piece of tape over because it can be hacked, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, should we hit play? Let's hit play.
Yes.
A lot of the studies aren't replicated. A lot of the things that are replicated are, especially with physics, where it's just a fairy tale at this point, and you can kind of make whatever you want from the fairy tale data to construct whatever little fairy tale house you want to build.
Stop,
everyone's
AB,
trying to
you can help me on this, mate.
Stop.
Right. Yeah, AB, come on, man.
Physics. It's like I could kind of agree with this, and sorry to sound snobby, but the more statistical sciences like sociology or psychology, there's a bit more leeway for interpretation, and it's but. And I sound really kind of shirty, like superior. No, I do not believe that they're inferior sciences. I've done a bit of social science research in my time, and I can confidently say that sociology and psychology are far harder to do than physics.
Oh yeah, statistical analysis, pure statistical analysis is extremely difficult and rigorous. I have to say,
And there's so much uncertainty. There's so much uncertainty, and you have to think about things so much. But within physics, there is no room for interpretation. It is just, this is what the data tells you. If you don't like it, you can fuck right off.
Yeah, right. Wouldn't that be great to see on a university? This is the data. If you don't like it, you can fuck right off.
I think I'm quoting one of my old lecturers on that, actually.
Oh, well, I wish I'd had lecturers like that or teachers like that in school. That's fantastic. Right, I want to hear from the quiet chaps again. Logical Troglodyte and Dead Kennedy. Have either of you got something you'd like to add at this point?
Yeah, since AB brought up the psychology, I think I would like to address exactly what she is doing right now. Over and above getting everything wrong about science and scientism, what she's actually doing on a psychological level for her audience is building up to the crescendo of, if they will do this to each other, no wonder you're being oppressed so horribly by all these debunking channels out there. And what this is a classic case of psychological projection. Projection basically is about defense mechanism that the ego will do, and to some degree we all do it at one point or another. But the less self-evaluating a person is, the more they will do it, which is, I'll turn a blind eye to my own character flaws or my own lack of intellect, and I will see that same flaw in you, only magnified.
Yep,
Does this
I
make
think
sense?
that's an excellent point. Well made. Now, look, I've got two other names on the list. Dead Kennedy in Space. Have you got anything you want to add to the list?
Don't
feel, if I'm putting you on the spot,
no,
that's
no, no.
fine. It's perfectly free not to say no, but
No,
I
no,
just
no.
thought you might like to say something.
I agree with everything Logical said. I feel like her tactics are very transparent, and the psychology of it is really painfully obvious, to a
Right.
point where I think it's unquestionable that she's probably a Poe.
Yeah, indeed. I think she's pulled this technique by reading some book or other about conning people, some sort of innocuous internet source, and has decided to put it into practice, frankly. It's so cartoonishly transparent. It's superficial. It's too two-dimensional to be true. What about anti-flatter? We haven't heard from you in a little bit, mate. I'm sure this is boiling your blood, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, at this point, if I say anything, it'd be just reiterating what everyone else has said. So,
Well, yeah, but what's your emotional response to it, see? Because this is part of the thing is, okay, we have got AB science, we've got Dead Kennedy in Space, we've got logical troglodyte, people who've got some scientific, some medical, some rigorous training. And then you've got a bunch of laymen like me and you and Jutmonk and Barman who have some knowledge. But basically, we see this stuff and it makes us furious. And we go, well, she's obviously misrepresenting this, or she's using that tactic there. I mean, what bubbles to mind?
well, with her, it's simple. She's got a narrative she wants to push. She's got an audience that she wants to present to, and that's all she's really doing.
Yeah.
I mean, right or wrong, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Well, I think you're reasonably on point there. See, it was worth trying to dig it out. Right, should we hit play and move on to the next bit?
Hang on. Hey,
Yeah.
Jimbo.
Yeah.
I just want to add, I think I need to correct you. I have no post-secondary education whatsoever. I am not qualified to be doing this stuff in any way. I'm totally with anti-flatter. I'm a layman who knows enough to know that a lot of people on the internet are stupid.
Oh, well, in that case, I, retract my comment and replace it. I'm sort of in a similar position by you, by the sound of it. So it's very impressive you've managed to learn as much as you have, because you have the sort of the eloquence of someone who's well informed. I've seen a lot of your videos, so clearly you have done research on the subject. But yes, all right, comment with well-informed layman.
Do you know
Jumpman,
what
sorry,
I
mate.
think about it?
What's that?
Or what I sort of thought about is if she is intelligent and she actually done a Simon Dan and debunked flat Earth, she'd be really popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd have
funny,
a
I just realised.
Probably would actually. Yeah.
She'd have a
You've
way
been
bigger
quite
audience.
quiet, actually, Jutmonk. Are you not furious at this point? I'm
Oh,
surprised you're
mate,
not throwing
fucking hell,
shit off the wall.
I've just gone beyond it, mate. Now, given up.
Yeah, gone past insanity. Now you're just like
Yeah.
floating gently in,
I'm
sort of
getting
mild
I'm getting
senility.
used to it now.
Oh, it's just you gotta be careful, man. You
Must
may
be all
doing
them
some brain
fucking
damage.
chemtrails.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
Let's hit play then, and let's see the next bit because we've barely started.
Fairy tale house you want to build, and everyone's kind of working on the same house because that's where the funding is, that's where the money is, that's where the jobs are, that's where the prestige is. That's not science, that's scientism.
Well, before we move on, because the next one's just about to start, I just want to ask AB quickly: do you do your job for the prestige, for the fame, for the money, cars, and women?
Right. I used to do a job which pretty much gave me access to that, but now as a scientist, I make approximately 1/5 of what I used to make.
Yeah,
So no, we don't do it for the prestige or the money. Scientists are not well paid. You do not go into academia where because everyone who goes into academia is aware that they're going to live a life which is fraught with mental health problems, low pay, job insecurity. Right? You do not do it to have some cushy life. I mean, if you make it to a professor in the UK or the equivalent in the US, which is a tenured professor, then yeah, okay, you've got the cash, but until then, I'm not going to say it's bad, but you don't do it for the money, because if you're in it for the money, just become a business to business sales rep. Seriously, you'll
Right.
make a shit
Yeah,
ton
hard.
more money.
Absolutely. You're doing this because you're doing some good, because it's a valuable job. It's a vocation, right?
Well, for me, it's the only bit where I fucking fit in, because
Okay.
turns out that as an IT sales rep, your CEO doesn't like it when you go, I don't think that's going to work because the evidence suggests otherwise.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? When you're supposed to be selling a dream.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, we've got
You
another video to
probably-
go before half
You
time.
probably might have guessed, but I actually was a timeshare salesman in
Oh,
Gran
God.
Canaria.
Heathen, burn
One of
him.
Right in your face.
I don't know. You know, it all had merit in the 70s, but it's all gone now, hasn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't doing it in the 70s, mate. I was
No,
born
I know
in
you're not that old,
75.
mate. Yeah. All right, look, let's hit play. Let's hit play.
Ooh.
Sing a song. Someone
Pig
sing
was
a
doing
song.
something in the
When
background.
I first came across the Berenstein-Beres change and a few other of the Mandela effect changes that
Oh, that's the
resonated
next
really
video, isn't
strongly
it?
with me,
Yeah, we
at first I thought this has
Oh,
got
well, we
to
got to
be.
pause. Hold on.
No,
Yeah.
that's not right. See, the first video
We're
was
messing
in
up the
2
schedule.
halves.
Yeah.
Oh,
What do
yeah,
you
we've got
do?
the
What do you
news, haven't
do?
we? Oh,
Right?
God, yeah, news. It's because we said play.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what it
So,
is that the first video we're watching is 2 videos basically edited into one. So when we got to the black bit at the end, we should have just left it playing instead of skipping to the next bit.
Oh, no.
No! So, Pig, is there any way that we can roll back to the video we were on and skip back to the end of where we were, basically? Let's just, Annie Flatter, can you help us do a bit of backward in time traveling here, mate?
See, this is why we need more subs. Then we could actually pay Pig money and he'd get it right. Oh, my
Is
God,
wrong.
what the hell was
That
that?
affects so many other things, right?
Oh.
Jesus, that just gets you, doesn't it? Oh.
It's like an icy bath.
Okay, let the twit roll.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't help it.
All right, here we go. He's just queuing it up.
I kind
What
of
are you
forgot
doing?
where you guys were.
Yeah.
How far into it were you guys?
We're near the end. I don't know. It won't really matter. It's all just bullshit anyway.
Okay. Well,
Should we go to the news?
Here it
7 or 8
is. Here
minutes.
it is. Okay.
Yeah, we probably should go to the
Shit.
news and get to the second video.
Yeah, look, to be honest, at this point, we can do that. It's an easier cut for everybody. So what we'll do now is I'll hand it over to Canadian Thomas, and you can introduce the idiot report for the middle of the show, and we'll go on to the creator section straight after. How about that?
All right. So, ladies
Fantastic.
and gentlemen, let's cut from this absolute insanity and look into Babe's Troglodyte for the news report here on the Silly Shill Show. Take it away there, Pig.
Back with another weekly idiot report, I'm Babes Troglodyte.
Yeah, if he's
This
ready.
week, we're departing from our usual format,
really give him much of a
debunking
heads
flat
up there,
Earth,
did we?
to bring
I
you
tried
other
to keep
conspiracies
long
from
enough
the
to give him
wonderful
time, right?
world of woo. First up, giants. Yes, you heard me right. I said giants. Believe it or not, residents in Conspiraland are claiming that the world's archaeologists and governments are hiding evidence that there was once a race of cannibalistic giants who ruled the earth.
Right.
And they have evidence, folks. Or do they? Are these photographs real or photoshopped? Without the original source files, there's no way to know. However, even if they are real, is this evidence of a former race of cannibalistic overlords? Or a well-documented and understood medical condition known as giganticism? Giganticism is caused by growths or tumors on the pituitary gland. They might as well be playing a game, folks. With photos like this, it appears games are afoot. Maybe they should have quit while they were ahead. The average resident of Conspiraland will tell us a photo like this is completely real, while at the same time insisting that Red's rhetoric somehow faked this rocket launch or that NASA CGI'd this picture of Earth. It sounds a bit like duck, duck, goose. Let's see that again. Duck, 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 goose. This reporter, who is making no judgments, will let you decide if this conspiracy's goose is truly cooked. Thanks, folks. And now back to you, Jim Bojo, and the Shills Live Show.
Hey, am I back on the air?
Yes,
I
you
believe
are.
so.
We're
Someone
back.
tell me you can hear me.
We're back.
All right, brilliant stuff. Right, so having seen the news report, first of all, thanks very much, babes. That's a fantastic bit of news there. So I want to do a quick round table just once to see if anyone has any comments on the news or the first video that we watched. I'm going to start with AB Science. What do you think, man?
Well, in that news clip, I mean, they were clearly photoshopped. You can actually see that from the angles in which you can see the kind of spherical bit at the top of the skulls. It just doesn't match up to reality. So yeah, apart from, you know, and then Orphan Red, yeah, fuck it. I've said everything that I really need to say about that video.
Absolutely.
I think I've made my position very clear.
Yeah, I think you have. Well done, sir. Okay, Jumpman the Drunk Monkey, how are you doing, sir? What do you think of those two?
Yeah, I mean, what more can you say? It's all been said, you know. She should just use her fucking head in the right direction. She's letting herself down, and well, yeah,
She's letting the whole team down. She's
an
letting Canada
absolute
down.
fucking plum. I mean, you know, if she's
Unbelievable.
smart, then fucking be a fucking Simon woman.
Oh, that's it. It's a shame.
Oh, lost you there.
Yeah, we lost you there, bro.
Subscribers, not 7 of them anyway. And if she is as bright enough to get into Mensa, then frankly, she should be able to do that. Although, actually, there's one thing I wanted to point it out. She claimed that to get into Mensa, you've got to be the top 1% of the population in terms of intellect or IQ, and it's actually the top 2%. So smart as she is, she's only half as smart as she thinks she is.
Yeah.
Right, anyway, let's move on to Logical Troglodyte. What do you think about this whole arrangement, mate?
I personally think Orphan Red just needs to kind of stick to reading stories and leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Well made. Anti-Flatter, what about you on the other side of the world? Have you got an Antipodean perspective?
Oh, look, when it comes to Orphan Red, she's obviously her point of difference or her way of selling her channel is what it is. So, yeah, there's not really much more we can say about her.
No. All right, good point, well made. And Dead Kennedy in Space, last one on the list. What do you think so far?
When it comes to Orphan Red, I think she's a clever snake oil saleswoman. And when it comes to the news, I know for a fact that I've seen one of those photos on an article that explained that they were an entry in a Photoshop contest.
Yes, quite. I wanted to bring that up, actually. I'm glad you'd seen that. I was hoping I'd remembered that correctly. Now, I think there's one person on the list that I haven't brought up, Dick Dawson. How are you doing, sir?
Well, right now my forehead is all splintered and sore because I went through the damn mattress I put on my desk and I'm already into the wood. I can't believe the crap that comes out of that woman's mouth. It's absolutely insane. But let's go back to that news report for a second here. I myself can use Photoshop and other image editing tools quite well. And that was a disgusting shit show of the people watching my videos are so stupid I could pull this off.
Fair enough. There's one person I forgot, actually. It's Sarcastic Bowman. You're still out there, and I haven't asked you.
I was going to say, how dare you? How
Hey,
dare
I remembered you. Come on, I got there in the end.
To be
Come on,
fair,
we're just here to serve the
I've
drinks.
got a huge amount to say about the crazy lady. At present, I'm going to go for the next vid and a couple more glasses of rum because
we all need it at this point.
I had the headache from dealing with her in the past, and it's like, oh, I've still got a fucking strike on my channel, for Christ's sake.
Oh man.
Oh.
Well, look, we're all pretty upset with her, right? And you know, my opinion doesn't vary that much from these. Basically, I think someone who's smart enough to do videos like that is obviously not stupid enough to actually believe that. Therefore, she is a charlatan. It's not the greatest evidence, but it's why I'm convinced.
Well, what we
next,
could
though-
say is,
Yeah.
if you are watching Orphan Red, you know, pretty please just remove that strike and do one.
Yeah, quite. Hey, that was a very politely way of putting it from you. I'm surprised there were less.
Well, I don't
four-letter
want to
words
upset
or
her.
something. Yeah, it's amazing. You're surprisingly calm tonight, Jet Monk. I thought tonight at this point, the
Yeah.
top of your head would have blown off, and you'd have painted the walls with your cranial blood. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you
It's
know.
lunatic.
Yeah,
Oh,
but the
right.
thing is, it's like I said, I'm just dumbed down by it now. Sort of fucking chemtrails.
Yeah,
and the,
it's
and
just
the
evil.
vaccines. You know.
That's it. It just damages you to the point where you can't even think anymore, right? I
No.
thought at the beginning when Dead Kennedy in Space brought up the sort of the initial comment and we were all a bit lost for words that we might be lost, but actually this is far worse at this point. I'm completely shattered on all this.
But you know,
I invited Orphan Red on my video. What was it, a month or so ago? That she tried to strike me. I invited her at the end of that video to actually discuss this with me, make a debunk video, come on live and discuss this scientism versus science issue. Somehow that's never happened. I wonder why.
Well, look, we've got a great platform here to do it. Maybe we should try and ask her again, right? See if she'll come on.
I'll just throw it out there live. Orphan Red, if you're watching or if you watch this in a rerun, I'm available for a discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're watching Orphan Red, Logical Troglodyte would be absolutely happy to discuss the finer points of your arguments with you. And there's a few people here who'd be happy to produce unbiased moderation. So let's move on to the next part because we've had someone waiting in the wings for a while now and it's a little over time. It's 1 minute debunk. I'm sure you've all heard of him. You've seen him playing around the community. He's making some fantastic content at the moment. Where are you, man? Are you out there still?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Brilliant. I'm really sorry for it's all been a bit delayed tonight, hasn't it? Technical problem after technical problem. But basically, I'm going to hand over to Thomas now, and he's going to show a video of your work. And afterwards, we're going to get you to tell everyone a little bit about it. How's that sound?
That sounds fun.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have in our Creators Corner Spotlight 1 minute debunk. This is a fantastic YouTube creator debunker. The videos are short, they're to the point, and they hit hard. So if Pig's ready, let's roll the video, and then we'll cut back to 1 minute debunk for a little chat afterwards and see how things are, what he's up to, and where the channel's going. So ladies and gentlemen, if we're ready, let's watch a fantastic video from 1 minute debunk.
Trust your senses, say the conspiracists. Trust your sense of sight, whose limitations and failures are extensively documented. Trust your hearing, which degrades from the point of birth on the long road to inevitable deafness. Trust your sense of balance, which malfunctions if you keep turning round. Ignore all the tools we have invented to boost our senses far beyond their limitations. Forget ultrasound, microscopes, telescopes, mirrors, night vision cameras, computers, compasses, rulers, reading and writing, GPS, radar, sonar, MRI scans, X-rays, metal detectors, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detectors, Geiger counters, and spirit levels? We are just spongy life forms made only of human meat. If scientific inquiry ends with our senses, then we're taking a permanent step back to the middle of the Iron Age.
Sorry, I love that little line about us being bits of human meat as well. I think that's genius. Now I've been watching 1 minute debunk literally since the very first video by pure chance. I think I subscribed maybe about 18, number 18, something like that, really early on. I've been watching every single one, and in the past 6 weeks,
at the same time, did we, Jimbo Joe?
Yeah, pretty much like spot on the same time. If it wasn't the same day, I'd be surprised.
I think it was, yeah, because we spoke about him.
Indeed, because it's just brilliant. And what you've done, 6 or 7 videos in the space of about 5 weeks. Sorry, I didn't count them up, but it's like in the space of almost no time, you've gone up to about 212 subs because you just make this amazingly accessible content. It's like, it's quick, it's punchy, it's so convincing. The evidence is all there, but you don't need any of the fluff that a lot of the rest of us manage to put into our videos. I've got a couple of questions. I'm going to go around the table and ask everyone else to ask you a question or two. I hope that's all right. But mine are the easy ones, so don't panic. I want to know things like, all right, well, firstly, how long have you been making your content for?
I started in, I think, February.
Oh, really? It's been that long?
Yeah, I made a New Year's resolution to get 10,000 subs on YouTube.
Nice.
Without having a channel or anything. I started just doing one a week because due to personal reasons, I don't necessarily get time to do stuff, which is also why the videos are 1 minute long. But I try and knock out a few extra ones when I get the time.
Sure.
So yeah, I've been doing it. I've only got about 30 something episodes so far, which is 30 minutes of content.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty impressive, really, isn't it? Off the back of a small amount of actual minutes. So what was it made you decide to do these videos? Obviously, you've said the reason these 1 minute ones are sort of a matter of personal convenience and sort of your situation and so on. But what made you think, I actually want to make debunk videos specifically in the first place?
I've been really into fringe things for a long time, like weird bits of history or forgotten ciphers and all that kind of stuff, as well as weird conspiracies. I find it all really fascinating. And last year I went out and met some flat earthers in real life, including you know, the gate guy, the guy with the cameras on the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's actually a really nice guy.
Wow, living a dream, man.
And I got into it on YouTube, like watching all the videos and just thinking, what on earth is going on in the world?
You're not wrong.
Oh, your mic dropped.
It wasn't just me. You might have dropped a little bit there. How about you start that one sentence again?
So, I wanted to make debunking videos,
More volume.
but I don't want to do the same thing that other people are doing.
Okay.
There's a lot of good content out there that, you know, there's like Simon Dan and Conspiracy Cats, all that kind of long form debunking, which is great, and I watch all of that.
Sure.
But, I was really thinking about people like the people I met who, like, often you'll hear debunkers talk about things like bouncing radar off the moon.
Sure.
If someone thinks the moon is a hologram, telling them a thing called radar that bounces off it, it's not going to convince them because it's basically just magic to them. So I really like little, basically like debunk fast food. I couldn't find anyone else who was doing a similar thing. So yeah, that's how I came into it.
I mean, that's a really smart move because you're right. I don't think I've seen anything else that's quite like this. I've seen a few other 1 minute channels in various respects, but this 1 minute debunk thing is completely unique and like highly effective. It's the sort of thing that anyone would sub to, you know, anyone, because it doesn't take much time to watch it either. It's one of those things where you can be really well informed essentially without much requirement for sort of sitting down and devoting too much time to it, which is obviously how a lot of people use YouTube. So yeah, you've nailed it on the head there. Now, before I start asking people if they have any other questions, I wondered if there's an opportunity to shill yourself. We are the Shills, so that's why you're here. Would you like to tell people where they can find you, what they're going to see, you know, all the environments, things like Discord, YouTube, Twitter, and then, if you like, shout out to any other producers of content out there that you think people should be looking for?
Well, I'm sure my YouTube channel is linked somewhere in the description.
Oh, that'll be in the description, absolutely.
I'm on Twitter. I think I have 3 followers.
Okay.
So I haven't tweeted much.
I'm one of your followers.
We'll put that in. Oh, nice.
Okay. So there's
Excellent.
2 others. Yeah, I've done some collabs with the Casual Spaceman. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I saw that one. It's good.
More collabs in the works. I also did a collab with Beck You.
Oh, nice. That's
I haven't
brilliant,
seen
that
that.
channel.
It was a bit sly because it wasn't obvious it was me.
Yeah, 1 minute debunking
Ah.
myself have something coming up, so that'll be good.
Yep.
Ooh, that's exciting. So, wow, this is brilliant. We've got some information coming out. So, look, I've asked my questions. What I want to know is, one by one, have any of you got any comments that you'd like to raise or questions you're going to ask? Let's start with AB Science.
Yeah, starting with me, I don't really have any questions. I just want to comment on, I love the material you're putting out. Just that 1 minute form factor does a really great job getting the points across. We have all the other creators which are doing the longer form factor things. But I think, you've really got that gap down and just doing it in 1 minute, because in reality, flat Earth and all the pseudoscience stuff can be done in 1 minute, and it's great. So, yeah,
You're quite right.
I love it.
We're wasting our
Yeah.
time. What are we doing in here? That's brilliant. Okay, well, look, what about Sarcastic Barman? What do you think about all of this? Are you there, mate? I think we might have lost him. We'll come back to him anyway. What about Dick Dawson? What do you think?
Okay.
Well, myself, along with what has already been said, the format, the quick and to the point is fantastic, and the delivery. But for me, I'd like to know, of the videos you've done, who's the craziest flurf you've done yet?
So I don't actually address specific people.
I hadn't noticed.
Yeah, he takes a point and just like debunks that point.
Yeah,
I suppose you're right, really. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, I must have watched a half a dozen or more of these things sort of recently to try and catch up on the material. But yeah, you're right. You don't seem to take pot shots at individuals. Like, that's a good point.
There's no time to introduce a person anyway.
Yeah.
Plus, I really want to remove the whole personality thing from videos. I don't even generally mention names of scientists. I did an episode recently about the Ouija board.
Yeah.
Faraday was actually the scientist that did a lot of research into the idiomotor effect.
Sure.
And I used a picture of Faraday, but I didn't name him. I just said people looked into it. It's decades of research went into this.
Well, quite.
Board was even invented.
Nice. All right. Well, fantastic. Thank you very much. Look, how about Jut Monk? I can hear you want to say something, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a little bit like my flurf rants, but if you take away all the expletives, you've got about 1 minute of...
I love your voice.
Maybe you two should do a collaboration. I sweary 1 minute debunk. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I love the sound of that. Right, who haven't I talked to yet? How about Anti-Flatter? What do you think, buddy?
Well, I don't have much questions, but yeah, just compliments on the idea and everything. The idea of just having that quick 1 minute debunk's awesome. Because, I mean, in all fairness, who doesn't like a good quickie?
Yay, brilliant, and demonetized. Sarcastic Barman, what do you think, mate?
Yay, I'm back. I forgot to unmute. Very sorry.
Okay.
I have to ask, how many attempts does it take you to trim your content and things to get it to below that 1 minute mark? Do you find it difficult to do, or are you just attacking the cliff notes sort of thing?
Oh, it's so annoying. It's really frustrating, because if I record something that's 58 seconds, that's no good, because 2 seconds of dead air sounds like a huge gap in a 1 minute.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to write the scripts and constantly read them and time them as I'm writing them, which doesn't take too long because they're pretty short. And then I need to record it and make sure it's all enunciated really clearly, because I speak quite quickly. And oh yeah, that's a hassle. Each episode takes about 3 hours to make in total.
Wow. I mean, that's good, because that's 180 times the length of the actual video. That's a huge amount of effort you're putting in there, really.
Yeah, but I try and put little animations and stuff where appropriate, just to keep it visually stimulating.
Indeed. I've seen, and that's one of the things I like most about it, is it's very visually appealing. You've got all these clever little sound effects in the background, the sort of the little dings and the splats as things move around, just to sort of keep the pace running. It's a quick minute, you know. It's not just that it happens to be 60 seconds. You've filled it all the way up with data to the end. Dead Kennedy in Space, have you got any thoughts, comments, or questions you'd like to ask?
No questions, but I do have a couple comments. I agree with everyone that the style is the most effective factor in your videos. And I think someone mentioned not attacking is not the right word, not debunking a specific flurfer, more attacking the core concepts, because that's what does the most damage to the movement, I think, is just grasping the core concepts and knowing how to turn them around on them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an excellent point. Well made. Now, I'm looking down my list here. I'm sure there's someone I've missed, but maybe I'm not. Is there someone who I haven't asked yet?
Caveman.
Yeah, you
The
missed me,
logical
but
troglodyte. How could I forget? What do you think, man? Come on, you must have something to say.
oh yeah, I love 1 Minute Debunk. I've been watching him since he posted his 3rd video. You know, and a lot of times it was as busy as my life can be. That's what I have time for. But what I really want to know is kind of sort of semi-related to what Barman was talking about. Between initial idea and finished execution, how long does it take you to do these videos?
So I have a document with about 150 conspiracy or conspiracy type ideas. So, for example, there's a fair few flat Earth ones because that gets views, but there's a lot of things that I would like to cover, like common misconceptions. Anti-vaccine, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
And just other stuff. So I take stuff from that. I write the scripts. That's usually about half hour to an hour, depending on the particular concept. Some things are a lot easier to compress than others. Recording it's just like 5 minutes or whatever. And then I have to download public domain stock footage until I have minutes worth of video.
Nice.
So I'd say about 3 hours is the
Sure.
of the longer average, upper quartile, say.
Yeah.
I think one of them took like 8 hours, but I can't remember which one.
Wow. Okay.
Trying to get specific effect, and it took forever.
Yeah. Jesus, that's a hell of a lot of work for 1 minute of footage, but fair play, because the net result of it, honestly, I mean, as soon as I suggested to have you guys on to like a couple of people, someone else had also suggested you as the guest that we bring on. You've made a bit of an impact on the group here, and you're sort of doing some brilliant content. So I'll do the plugging bit now. To those ladies and gentlemen in the audience who are interested, you can basically find this man's channel, subscribe, hit the bell, and every week or so get a really good little bite-sized video that will just explain and debunk something. Bang, just like that. It's brilliant. And I think everyone here can agree that we've all really enjoyed it, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to say is
fuck you.
if you don't subscribe to this channel, you're a complete and utter dork.
All right, there you go. So this channel has the Jut Monk seal of approval by the sound of it.
Absolutely, man.
Brilliant. All right. Well, look, thanks very much for that. We appreciate your time. Thank you for coming onto the show. We wish you the best of luck. Although obviously I don't think you're going to need it at this point. And I expect at some point in the future we'll probably try and catch up with you to see how you're getting along. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having me. And yeah, I'd love to come back anytime.
Oh, excellent stuff. Well, yeah, thank you, and we'll see you soon then. Cheers.
Brilliant.
Right, and now we're going to head back to Dick Dawson, because you're going to introduce the next video for us, aren't you?
Yes, we are going to get back into the deep, deep rabbit hole that is Orphan Red and her channel. So if Mr. Pig is all good and ready, let's get that second video up and thrash through this absolute utter nonsense.
When I first came across the Berenstein-Bears change and a few other of the Mandela effect changes that resonate really strongly with me, at first I thought this has got to be some kind of a crazy dream where reality just starts to shift, land masses are moving around, and popular culture is just shifting in, shifting out, things are changing.
Is she talking about her own grasp on fucking reality?
Yep. It has to be, Judd. It has to be.
You know, because she has completely fucking lost touch.
I think she has. She's finally lost grip on reality by the sound of it. Sorry, what was that?
think of her like the elongated man from the whole DC Flash universe. She fell down that rabbit hole. Her arm was stretching and stretching to stay at the top so she could still hang on, but it could only stretch so far. And that's it, man.
Yeah, but she is another one that fucking had probably flushed her fucking brain down the toilet.
Well, it sort of seems like it. Well, she's done a really good impression of it. I mean, look, the Mandela effect, this is what she's talking about. It has to be the most ridiculous idea I have ever heard. Well, the whole idea is, right, that you remembered something different to how it turned out. Right. When I was a child, I thought that South America was this shape, and now I look at the map, it looks like this. Right. And their solution is not my brain makes mistakes, but it was the whole world and all of history is wrong.
Yeah,
I mean, what the actual fuck is she talking about?
Do you know
that
why
is
it's called
ridiculous,
the
isn't
Mandela
it?
effect?
What's that?
Because when Nelson Mandela was released from prison, people were like, "Fuck, I thought he was dead," and it was such a massive amount of people that actually thought he died.
Yeah.
And that's where it come from, and that's why it's called the Mandela effect.
I didn't know that. That's pretty impressive. Cool. That's a cool fact, man. Right. Has anyone got anything else they want to add, or shall I hit play?
Yeah.
Hit play, man. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Dead Kennedy.
What Jumpmonk said. That's all the Mandela effect really is, and it's so unbelievably explainable. It's just a rumor to the nth degree.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
And that blows my mind.
I was going to wait until the end, but the Mandela effect is nothing more than false memory, right? Because memories are a really fickle thing, and actually, this is quite badly abused by authorities and stuff like that during in police interviews and stuff like that. But the first time the idea of this false memory was posited was by fucking Sigmund Freud in the 1920s. Right, this is nothing new. And actually, funnily enough, it's one of the few ideas that he had which actually stuck. But there's so much evidence suggesting that, false memories are a thing. And that's all it is.
Yeah. Human brains, it turns out, are not always correct all of the time. Although I don't think Orphan Red's grasped that, actually. That's sort of her problem, isn't it? Right, should we crack on with the video? Because we're getting there now. There's not much left.
Yeah, let's do it.
The only way the majority of people notice is because of a change to children's books, and nobody really cares. Everyone just keeps on going with their daily routine. Some people are stunned and shocked for, 3 or 4 days. They don't sleep, they question everything, and then they all just slip back into their daily lives, mundane routines, as though nothing has happened.
That's because nothing has happened. That's why. They basically sort of spend a few days going, man, this is really screwing me up. I remember one thing and the truth is the other thing. And after a few days, it's like, turns out I was wrong. And life goes on.
Well, as BM Furball has just said in the chat, he has memories of Orphan Red making intelligent videos. So clearly the man has changed history to make her a twit.
I'd like to say a quick hello to BM Furball in the chat then while he's here, because obviously there'll be a few other people around who know him, but just on the off chance there's anyone out there who's not heard of him, this guy's been doing some brilliant work lately. He did a Cavendish experiment. Now, obviously there's more to be done experimentally speaking, but you need to get over there and have a look at that stuff, because he's producing some genuine experimental data, and it's not just like he went out and bought one. He built it at home. He dealt in detail with all of the variables. Is there anyone else on the panel who's seen that?
Do you know what I like?
Yeah.
Jumpman, what was that saying?
Do you know what I like about it? Is like obviously people in the community that have helped him, and he's stuck their names all inside everyone.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Right.
Yeah, that's really
AD,
cool.
what were you saying as well, mate? Sorry.
Yes, I have seen the experiment. I'm a little bit involved with it, and I'm not going to give too much away, but the data is looking great, and the errors that we're getting on the results are actually really good. So,
awesome.
yeah.
This is
Well,
why you
BM
chaps out in the audience and you ladies too, you need to be watching us because we've got all the exclusives, all the new gear, all of the best stuff. If you want to find out where the new best data is coming from, come down to the shills. That's why you need to subscribe and hit the bell. And
damn
that's
right.
why I'm shilling for you so hard right now. Now, has anyone else got any opinions on the matter before we crack on?
I do.
Go on.
Since BM Furball is my father, I go ahead and like to comment about the Cavendish experiment.
Okay.
He has worked on it for hitting around 6 months now. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost there, but the most important thing about it is not the Cavendish. It's the upcoming video with his interview with Mark Sargent.
Yeah, now that's an excellent point. If anyone's on Twitter or is in the Twitterverse, they'll have seen that coming up. That looks fascinating. I cannot wait to see Mark Sargent in conversation. As far as I understand, he's got well over an hour of footage or something as well. So
And Mark Sargent has the capacity in that cranial cavity he calls a skull of like a squirrel compared to the man that is BM Furball. Let's face it, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, man, that's I did see a screenshot of it, and I saw BM Furball's face just had that haggard and tired look of a man who's fed up with your shit. You know what I mean? Like I've
Looked
had
like he'd
enough
been
of this
beaten with a
bullshit.
dead squirrel for a week, man.
Well,
Right,
in
okay,
fairness,
right,
he
like-
did
Well,
just come back from Hawaii, so
Whoa, hold on, AB, what was that?
That was Jut.
in fairness, he did just come back from Hawaii, so I imagine that he's jet lagged to fuck.
Ah, right,
Yeah,
okay,
probably a
yeah,
little
that
bit.
might be part of it. And Jutmonk, you were trying to say something.
No, I was just going to say it's like he's Mark Sargent's put his brain in a fucking blender.
Yeah, quite. Well,
Mark
I don't know how he
Sargent had a
found it in
brain.
the first place, but yeah. Hey, what's Andy Flat? Was that you? What was that, mate?
Oh no, I was just questioning how's Mark Sargent supposed to put his brain in a blender? I didn't realise he had one to begin with.
I think all he has to do is tilt his head on one side and sort of hit his hand against it like he's getting water out of his ear, and it'll sort of thunk out like a
But,
marble,
yeah.
you know? Right, let's hit play. Let's see some more madness.
It actually is like that. People are just going about their routines as though nothing is terribly wrong and very much needs attending to by governments, institutions, universities, the people at large, just all of the peoples and the institutions, also the monarchs,
The only fucking morons.
probably the Vatican.
The only fucking
maybe
morons
should
at
also-
large.
Go
the
on.
only fucking morons at large that should be in any kind of institution are these fucking dumb fucks.
This is the Jump Monkey I love. I want to hear some more bile, man. Excellent. Right, has anyone else got anything to add before I move on? Oh, actually, I've got to ask Logical Troglodyte again. How are you doing, man? What do you think so far?
Well, I love the Mandela effect, particularly considering my field of study, which is in psychology. And memory is very, very interesting. There's actually 3 levels of memory: working short term, and long term. And long term is colored by our emotions, our experiences, both past and present. And so my memories of something I may have done at 6 years old is going to get colored by my experiences today. They're hugely unreliable, as somebody like Antiflatter, who used to be a military police, well knows, which is why, first-hand account of something isn't always the best, when it comes to testimony. And, but people like Orphan Red seem...
wasn't it?
Yeah, people like Orphan Red seem to have this little personality quirk of, I cannot be wrong. So if it isn't the way I remember it to be, then it must be something else, and then a conspiracy is born.
Right? It's so bizarre.
Do you know,
It's literally a reversal of reality to make it about you. Sorry, Jumpman, what was it, mate?
I remember seeing a documentary, some of you may have seen it on TV. It was a long while back, and they got these group of people together, and they knew that they was in an experiment, but they were told it was something different. And basically, they witnessed a robbery or something like that. And then the police interviewed them, and they thought it was all real. And then they looked, they there was the stories that was given. You know, some were saying they had masks, some said they had gunshots when there was no gunshots. You know, it was like just a confusing mess, and all it was 3 men without masks who were just shouting and just robbed someone. You know.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
turned into like a gang with guns and balaclavas and
That's
noise
right,
and a
yeah.
gunfight. It's ridiculous. I know. Like
Blue
human
van,
memories
white
is so
van.
unreliable.
And I
Yeah,
have done
right.
investigations like that where I have done the interviews with people that have witnessed all the same event, and you get 3 completely different stories. Like, well, not completely different, but aspects of them have all changed. No
Sure.
one lied, just everyone's remembered it ever so slightly differently.
That's right.
That's
Logtalk, have
why
you got any
witness
direct experience?
Yeah, actually, there was it was an interesting study that was done when I was in school, and it had an associated video. You've probably seen it that dealt with it. And it was a group of people doing pantomime on stage, and a man in a monkey suit walks through, stops, waves at the camera, and walks off. 98% of the people, when they first see that video, do not see the man in the monkey suit because it's outside of their experience of what they're currently experiencing.
Ah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know if
this is
anyone's ever
a
read any Terry
standard thing.
Pratchett. Sorry, AB, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. So this is a standard thing where, yeah, you do have a similar video that goes around on YouTube where you have a basketball game being played and you've got a guy in a gorilla costume doing that exact thing. And I think it's every first-year psychology student now, actually, during the process, during the course of their degree, will watch that video and be subjected to that, and then really realize that your own perception, it's madness, and your memory is not very good.
Yeah, right.
But when we're
Yeah,
talking about
unreliable narrators.
precisely, but we have the Mandela effect. So I've just had a quick look at it, and so it turns out that many Mandela effect believers believe that it is caused by accidental travel between alternate universes.
Yeah,
That's kind of cool.
It is, isn't
That's-
it? It is a pretty awesome idea.
Yeah.
But it also
That's
sort
an
of turns
interesting
into the personal universe thing, which always bothers me slightly. These are people who think that they exist in their own private personal timeline and they can zip around between realities, and somehow it's just all about them.
Yeah, it makes sense if you've been hit in the head with a bat.
It's not necessarily untrue. I mean, I suppose there are interpretations. I think it's versions of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics where that may be a thing. But my question is, why is it almost always that they travel to alternate universes where the Berenstain Bears? That's changed, or that
Slight shake of
Shazam was
accompaniment.
a movie, rather than what happens, if they travel to an alternate universe where, I don't know, something like the Cuban Missile Crisis went tits up.
Yeah, or the Germans won the Second World War, right?
Precisely. No one remembers
they didn't.
that alternate universe.
Yeah, you don't find people suddenly going, "Oh, that's weird. When I woke up yesterday, we were in the middle of the Third Reich, and today everyone's got freedom." It doesn't happen like that, does it? Like,
Precisely.
bizarre.
It's always the same two things, and this goes back to kind of implanting that memory, right? Because you've got the Berenstain Bears, right? Because of what they say, well, I remember it being spelled this way, which is spelt in a way which makes sense to the English speaker, and then there's no, it's actually spelt that way, which is, and that's perfectly fine. It's because of your perspectives that you feel that way. Or is that movie Shazam, which people get presented with that information and they spend hours on YouTube watching videos about this and being fed details about this movie Shazam, and then they go, what's going on? And then they go to bed, and because they've been ingesting this information all day, weird shit happens in your dreams. Like I've woken up being absolutely convinced for days that a thing happened, and then after a while I realized, no shit, that was my dreams. That never fucking happened.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's disappointing. It's like that classic thing from waking up for a dream where you were on holiday and realizing it's time for work. And it's like, it was so real while I was there. What a gutting experience. Maybe I've just transported universes in the night and I really was on holiday. Anyway, right, should we crack on with the video while there's still a bit of it left?
We'll be paying attention to this just shifting reality.
I really see flat Earth as a strong
Right.
warrior
So much
against
effort.
scientism. I really think it plays an important role. And how I define scientism is blind faith belief in whatever people think science is saying. So even if they don't even understand it, they accept it as true.
Like you.
Even if they
Oh,
have misunderstood
can I interject
science.
a moment?
Yeah, please do.
There's deferring to AB Science's expertise in physics is not blind faith. It's
Right.
trusting that, because he has a proven track record of being correct and understanding it more deeply than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's blind faith.
Do you
Is
actually-
it blind faith for me to call up a guy to fix my fridge or fix my boiler or something like that, right?
Yeah, my point exactly. I mean, if somebody else has better expertise than I do, why shouldn't I defer to that? I
Right.
can't know everything.
We're not running this stream on blind faith. We're running it on processors that were engineered by scientists, for God's sakes, right?
Actually, I'm running it on blind faith
Yeah.
that I will not fall asleep.
Yeah.
Oh, God, look at her face. It is terrifying.
Nice.
We trust.
Just
Cool.
look at that
Any more
face.
comments before we crack on?
Let's kick it.
No.
Cool.
Look at that face.
Oh, I'm trying not to. That's why I want the play button to hit, because right now the things that are
Oh my
about to come out
God.
of my yap are not suited to
God.
YouTube view.
Yeah, let's keep it light. Let's keep it light. Hit play, hit play, quick, quick.
Believe with zealousness that their misinterpretation of what science has said is the truth, and it's the divine truth. It's unquestionable truth.
Okay, hold
I
on.
think when I talk about scientism, I'm talking
Divine, you're not letting that go. It is not divine
Divine?
truth. What it is something has been proven. It has been tried to be falsified. It hasn't. Other people have replicated the experiment, and it is thus true. It is fact. it is real. This is not divine faith or anything else. So shut your and just okay.
Look,
I'm
I hate
gonna
to-
cross the line, so I'm gonna stop. Who's next?
Look, I want to make a very minor correction, right? Which is that the thing about science, AB, you'll back me up on it. In fact, everyone in here will back me up on this. Science doesn't claim to know anything, right? I know it's the boring answer. Science doesn't claim to know anything. It can just assign levels of confidence to a certain proposition based on the evidence to it. And I know that's really dull and dry and boring, but it's impossible to have divine knowledge in a field that doesn't even accept such a thing as true knowledge, right?
Right.
You just have
Well,
current
yeah,
and
it's
accepted
absolutely
knowledge.
right. I mean, the way I like this to describe it is that the scientific theory, the currently established scientific theory, is the least incorrect
There we
information
go.
we
This
have
is why we have
about
you,
the
man.
universe.
Thank God we've got AB Science, because he makes all of these complicated ideas actually accessible. Thank God. Right, okay, let's crack on a little bit
Well,
more,
hang
shall
on.
we?
Talking about
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say, this is why I refer to science as a self-correcting prophecy.
I like that. That's excellent. A self-correcting prophecy. Oh man, I'll have to write that one down. Cool. Should we move on, or is there anyone that's got a comment they want to add to the pile? Sounds
I think
good.
we're
Let's hit
good.
play.
about the religion that has replaced actual science. And it's a religion because it is a set of beliefs, and they're slightly dogmatic, right? And there are
Will she
always
just shut the
practices-
fuck up, man? She's doing my fucking head in. It's absolute bollocks. Just no.
It's
What's
that damn
slightly
belief
dogmatic
thing again.
Yeah, what is something that's slightly dogmatic? Isn't it kind of an absolute, that word? Aren't we saying, look, you either have to believe it or you don't? If you're slightly dogmatic, it's sort of, nah, I mean, kinda, I guess. In which case, it makes her point irrelevant anyway.
She's now beginning to sound fucking insane, like she's just in a padded room talking to herself.
That's when she starts, like,
Well, that's-
drawing in shit on the walls, we have to worry.
Yeah.
What was that, Kevin?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. I thought you did there.
Well, in
Sorry.
that case, before we crack on, let's have another one from Logical Troglodyte and Anti-Flatter. What do you guys think? Anti-Flatter, how about you?
No, I'm just agreeing with you guys that a padded room would be the best place for her at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So you can bounce around in
Especially
there
when
for
she
a while.
explodes out of that corset.
Oh, easy now. We're getting borderline now. We have rules now. Logical Troglodyte, what do you think?
I think science doesn't give two shits what your belief is, one way or the other.
Yeah. I think science gives a shit about the facts and the data and nothing more.
Yep.
Cool. Let's hit play.
Hold on.
Yeah.
The going back to the whole science doesn't care. That is the whole point. That is the whole purpose, to take all bias, belief, and so on and so forth out of it and get to the data and analyze it to see where it leads you.
Absolutely.
But
Couldn't have said it better.
I suppose that's actually what Orphan Red is saying. She is actually asserting that this is what science should be like. But what she's commenting on is saying that the scientific community doesn't follow these principles, and that's a bit of nuance that you have to observe there. But that is just pure projection, because the scientific community actually, it does follow these principles. It is a fundamental component of because if we think about it, right, if we have a theory which is wrong, right, we'd be shooting ourselves in the foot, because if, say, quantum mechanics, right, we don't fully understand what the fuck is going on, but we can describe it and everything, and that's great, and we rely on that to build computers and stuff like that. And so the point is, if a theory is wrong, and if we're sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, even building a car from the 60s required the knowledge of quantum funneling. That's how the coil on a car works. It's more simple even than something as complicated as a laptop.
Yeah.
Precisely. But that's the thing. We have to understand this, and for us to successfully do stuff. And if one of these things is wrong, right? If our understanding of quantum mechanics is incorrect, then we wouldn't be able to build a computer, and it would be against our interest to not try and improve it, right? It's completely counterproductive, because what we're trying to do is develop a good understanding. And this whole scientism thing, which is a word she uses incorrectly anyway.
Yes, it does have a common definition.
Yeah. But that is what actually is at least her definition is useful for describing what flat earthers do. So it's all projection.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you completely. I think that's a good point. Well made. Let's crack on with the tunes, with the video, shall we?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Rituals that go along with this system of beliefs.
Hold on, sorry, hold on.
shit.
Rituals, it's methodology, mate. The point about methodology is
take
that there's
long.
a specific reason for it that can be replicated. We're not just waving chickens above our head here. We're taking measurements. You know what I mean? There is actual logic to this. And actually, it just builds on the point that was just made. The one thing about the scientific community that she seems to ignore is the way that they share their data. You know, it's not, I know that there's competitiveness within, and when you're still working on a new theory, you sort of want to keep it hidden into yourself so some people don't get to it ahead of you. But the point is, once you've got your findings, everyone gets it profit free. You just send it out because you want the whole world to know. This whole thing is not about shutting people out. It's about including people. It's about throwing your ideas to the wind and hoping that someone can't actually prove it wrong, right? I haven't got that wrong, have I?
No, I think you're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
I
that's my rant.
think you're kind of right.
Yeah,
I mean, in some
spirit is
cases,
there.
we do keep our we do keep our cards to our chest. Like, I'm working on one project at the moment where we're currently looking at sitting on the publication for a bit because we want to file a patent first. But this is mainly because I don't want large companies making a shit ton of money on the basis of my work, right? It's not out of personal financial interest, because it is probably not going to make me any money, but I don't want some other motherfucker becoming rich off my back, right? That's not fair.
Yeah,
so I want to make sure that the credit is, correctly placed on me and the other students that have worked on this project who, who would otherwise completely go unnoticed on a very significant contribution that and some of these are undergraduate
Oh,
students,
what a gentleman.
and I want to
Little
make
round of
sure that
applause there,
they
by the
get
way.
recognized for this. No,
I mean,
it's
that is, look, everyone in the chat right now, I want you to do a little hand clap emoji to put forward for AB Science. I think everyone in here, well done, old Hawk. That's exactly what we want to hear. What a novel and excellent way to behave. Anyway, look, sorry, I won't gush at you endlessly, but I'm very pleased that there are people out there
I
behaving
didn't
like
deal
that.
with that very well.
I have a comment.
But
and,
that's the point. We are sitting on this because it's in our interest, but the competing thing is that actually maybe we should just publish it, because the progress of science.
You got to
way,
get there.
it will get
The
out
point
there.
is, it's not going to be hidden forever. This isn't something that's going to go into someone's. I mean, nobody uses a file cabinet anymore, but you know what I mean. It's not going to get hidden away and buried. This is one of those things that once you've sort of got the credit for your work in it, and you make sure what you want happens to it is actually what happens to it, it will ultimately become public knowledge. It will be part of the public progress of science, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the thing is like you sit on it. It's like if you intend to just publish and not deal with this patent bullshit, then you sit on it as much as possible until you are 100% sure of your results, right?
Exactly.
And only then do you publish, right? But the thing is, once you're 100% sure that you've got a good point, at that moment you publish as quick as possible. You want to get out there because you don't want your competition to know about it, so that's where you keep your cards close to your chest.
Oh yeah.
But then you want to publish as soon as possible to beat your competition.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, there's a company called Skylon. Sorry, what's that?
We got Kevin. Kevin wants in here. Kevin.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I'm really upset by her use of the word ritual because
right.
I want to make a complaint about like a basic confusion of definitions here.
Uh-huh.
A ritual is always the same. You do a ritual over and over again. It's always identical. By default, science can't be a ritual because the results will change. The method might be the same, but the results will change depending on what you're looking at. And my issue
we
with
have a thing.
Sorry,
go on. Well, I was just going to say we have a thing called an independent variable, which is where we specifically isolate parts. But actually, I'm probably stamping on what you were going to say, so please go on.
Well, the other kind of side of this is, are you going to tell me flat earthers don't have rituals? Like, let's see how many I can recite off the top of my head. Show me the curve. I can't feel the spin. Everything is CGI. Debating you is a waste of time, etc., etc.
Yeah. Can I? Well, does Nathan?
Oh, you roboted out there.
Out.
Does that count, or is he just batshit crazy?
Say that again.
Yeah.
Do you know Nathan? Nathan, which one is it? Nathan Roberts or Nathan Thompson? The one who bounces golf balls off a sledgehammer.
That's Thompson.
Thompson. Yeah.
Sorry, too many Nathans. Well, is that a ritual? Does that count? That weird little sort of OCD behavior. It seems like he's got his whole flat Earth belief from something else that he used to do, which was memory tricks. He used to learn how to charge his memory, and instead he's just been feeding shit in. Someone gave him a list of nonsense. He's been feeding shit in and pumping shit out like a bad computer the whole time since. But I'm diverting. Let's get back to the video, shall we?
Yeah. Oh, our lovely producer, Look a Pig, had something he wanted to throw in.
Oh, please.
So, a slight correction for AB Science. There are
it's war. It's nerd war.
You got balls, buddy. Bring it on.
Come on. I want to hear this.
Okay, there are times within science where that information does not get released, where that is a trade secret or that is a government secret for the sole purpose of keeping that little metal alloy that, doesn't reflect radar secret.
Yeah. That is true.
Yes, absolutely.
Strictly speaking, that is true. I'll give you that. Although it's worth
That's
pointing out that if someone
true.
discovers the same thing in the public field, there's nothing the government can do to stop it.
Kill them.
I got 2 comments to read out here.
Oh, yeah, sure. I was going to go to Turquoise Law after the video, but if you think you've got something that's relevant now, please throw them on in.
Al Loop put in, this is what happens when a woman's boobs control her mind.
Oh dear,
I
oh
love
dear.
it.
Someone
And
said
then,
it finally. At least it
yeah,
wasn't
it
one of
had to
us,
come.
though, right? Yeah,
But
sure.
and then Andrew Stroll has, where are the scientific papers from the flirfs on the flat Earth? You hear them talk, and you think they could write a Nobel Prize paper on the subject.
Quite. I know the closest I've ever seen to it is Nathan Oakley using Google Earth, a globe model, as proof of a
That
flat
was
Earth
ridiculous.
somehow. Wasn't
Well,
that fun?
Well,
I still haven't got past the fucking sunset. These have been debating it for years. They seem to be talking about the independent variable. I want to drag their asses back to a fucking sunset because if you've solved it, either tell me about it so I can move on, or can sort of.
No, I agree with you, actually, because you've brought that up a couple
well,
of times.
I,
First in the chats you've been in. How the hell do you explain that sunset? Right, sorry, was that a sarcastic barman trying to say something?
No.
Oh, who was it?
no,
Someone
that
was
was me.
cutting in.
I have put up a video a long time ago, kind of offering to flat earthers to do an experiment with me, right? We gather the results and everything, and if it shows that there's a flat Earth, I know a paper, I know a journal that will accept a paper, provided it's
way.
properly rigorously done, right?
Oh,
Because
mate.
they have a requirement that the science must be rigorously done regardless of the result.
Sure.
And provided that it is a well done science, they will publish it.
Nice.
No takers.
It's funny that, isn't it? It reminds me of old the Amazing Randy's sort of $1 million prize that was running for years and years and years. It was really simple to pass. Just provide some proof of supernatural evidence, and you can win $1 million. And it never, ever happened. Bizarre.
So, we're getting near the 2-hour mark. Why don't we let this person say a couple things, and we'll wrap up the BS that we've been heard, and everybody can put their salad bowl away, and
we can all go home. Absolutely. Okay, let's hit play.
Rituals include the scientific method, and they include the discourse and how you're allowed to probe science and how you're allowed to probe scientists and what you're allowed to question and what you're not allowed to question, and even the practice of ridiculing those people who dare to question or challenge what you think science has said. Even that is a ritual of the religion. So there's
So just defame
me,
every
whenever you
single
have
thing that is
blind
done by
faith,
anyone in
that's
science and just
unscientific.
delegitimize all of it off the basis of fucking nothing, essentially.
Data,
Nice.
look at the evidence and analyze it, investigate it, assess it. You should be able to look to see not just do the conclusions sound plausible, but the interpretation that was used to go from the data, the raw data, to the conclusion. What about that interpretation? Is it a valid interpretation? Does that interpretation make assumptions? Does it come with a biased worldview? Does it include prejudices? Because all interpretations inevitably do.
All right.
And so.
All right.
Give a fuck.
All right.
If I have to listen to one more word of this fucking absolute bullshit, I'm gonna explode.
Yeah.
It's endless, isn't it? It's this endless tirade of meaningless bullshit. Look, Pig, what did you want to say, mate?
Logical troglodyte, this is a question for you. Why are the hand motions centered around a very specific area?
Yeah, can you answer that?
I don't really. Most people, a lot of people talk with their hands. It's just a way of expressing non-verbally. I think you may be reading a little into that.
That was very diplomatic of you. Look, we're nearly at the end. Let's play through. Let's get to the end. Let's get this over with.
Do we have to?
Yeah, man. Listen, do you know what I'd like to say?
Well, look. If we think that we're at the end of our tether and we can't handle any more, then we will just skip to the very end because that's easy enough. Is that what people want? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're done.
Okay, Jumpmonk, you seem like you have a point. What is it, mate?
Yeah, because I was chatting away when you were talking about her, and I wanted to add to what Canadian Thomas said about her shutting up. I'd like to not see her back again for a long time. Can we just that we're done with her now. Yeah,
We've done a special.
But-
We don't need to see her again. She's not relevant anymore. I'm up for that.
I don't want to see her anymore.
Cool.
Bye, Orphan Red. You've been fun. Remember, bin that fucking bin bag.
Yeah. Look, we couldn't even get all the way through 19 minutes of footage of you, love. That's how bad it was.
We could do a part 2 on her.
salad.
We could do a part 2 on it, but I
you.
value the remaining brain cells that I have. I've been killing them with her and whiskey all night, so I think I'm done, mate.
We have to think of the greater good, though, because she's got a lot of subscribers who believe everything she puts out.
I'll tell you what, then, I'll make a promise
And-
to you now.
oh.
If in another 6 months she's growing rather than shrinking, we will have another takedown of it. How about that? Yeah?
There'll be
Cool. All right, well, look, I think we're going to do that. We're going to skip to the very end of this video, okay? We all know we've got our own opinions of her, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the group and ask everyone for a quick last-minute view on what they think of what we've seen and what she's up to. Let's start, as ever, with a sarcastic barman.
Oh, good God, she's the one person in the Flat Earth community I do say is 125% in it for the money. She's in it for the attention, the money, and 99.9% of stuff she says is literally waffle, word salad, fucking bollocks.
Yeah, I agree entirely.
Oh God, I can't believe I did videos on her that ruined my brain cell.
Yeah, poor lad.
The other one's feeling very lonely now.
All right, well, look, what about you, Jut Monk? You've been furious with this on. What do you think?
Mate, do you know what, right? Exactly what the barman's just said. A lot of it is just words whacked together that are like quite long, and most flirts are dumb as fuck. So to them, that sounds awesome, and that's how she gets away with it.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Baffles the only brain cell they fucking got between them with bollocks.
Yeah, quite. Well, it's worked. Dick Dawson, come on, man. What do you think? You've got a gut full of bile for all of this.
Well, to me, there's one word and one word only that has to be said to describe this woman. Toe.
Yeah, I
Nobody
think
can
you nailed
present.
it.
Nobody can present the way she does and deliver the message the way she does and be brainless. So we know there's a brain in there. So if there's a brain in there, what's delivering the message? It's pure BS and it's being done for a reason.
Yep. Well done. Well said, that man. I agree entirely. Logical Troglodyte, what do you think about this, man?
Well, actually, I was just looking at something here online in conjunction with this. One of the things I do before I read a new paper within my own field, if I don't recognize the authors, I will look them up, find out where they were educated, look up some of their old papers so that I know where they're coming from before I delve into the new one, right?
Sure.
Okay,
reasonable.
with that in mind, I looked over at her other channel, Orphan Blue. I'm looking at a video called How to Open a Stargate Portal.
Okay.
Her source material includes, let's see here, sympathetic vibratory physics. It's a musical universe. God's
frequencies of
machines, the
vibrations in one
Stonehenge to crop circles, the acoustics of Stonehenge, astroarchaeology at Stonehenge, crystal oscillators. So I'm having to ask, is this truly a credible source with her telling me anything about science and religion?
And what do you think the answer to that question is?
Not no, but hell no.
Well,
Yeah, quite.
she did get something right about there being some kind of vibe at Stonehenge this morning because it was the solstice.
Yeah, that was last night. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Normally, I go to the solstice event every year, but they started charging 2 years ago, and I thought,
Yeah,
well,
that's right.
there's no way you can stop hippies getting it in for free anyway, so I'll try that. And I had to do this in the end, and I think I've enjoyed this a little bit more. But to people who have decided for whatever reason they're not going to like sub to this or watch this, or at least get to the solstice in Glastonbury once a year, because that is an amazing event.
Yeah.
I've talked to everyone. Let's see. I want to go to Anti-Flatter next. How about you? What do you think about this whole bloody madness?
All I know is Orphan Red and make my brain sore thinking can't much anymore.
All right. Who next? AB Science, come on, man. What have you got to say? Please tell me you've still got your intellect intact.
Just about. No, I mean, I've done quite a rigorous takedown of her on my channel, and I think I
Yes,
made
you
my
have.
opinion very clear. She is clearly a bullshitter, and it's the kind of definition of bullshit that is like it's not a lie. It
Mhm.
is, because bullshit can be both true or
Sure.
untrue, but
Sure.
it doesn't matter because she doesn't care about truth. All she cares about is creating this image and
Yeah.
just spinning some shit to make her feel clever, to make her sound clever, and to establish herself as this thought leader within the flat earth community. So everyone gives her all of that lovely, lovely super chat money.
Yep.
And she has engaged in some other online endeavors I'm sure a lot of people are aware of, and
Cough, cough,
I'm
Orphan
not-
Blue.
yeah, I am not going to judge her for that, and actually I think that maybe she should just carry on doing with that, because at least the money she makes there is honest.
Yeah.
That is an honest living.
All right,
Like-
before we
like
degenerate
I
into
said-
something that's going to get us off of the air. Sorry, Chapman, have you got something clean you
No,
can
like,
say?
Like I said, I think if she actually done a debunk channel, and I think she'd do really well.
Yeah, quite
Really
possibly.
well, you
She
know?
seems like she should be intelligent enough to do it. She seems like she's got very nearly the grasp she needs on a lot of the science. If only she could just get over that honesty hurdle, we might actually have a
Yeah.
good picture on our hands.
I'd
All right, look, I want to
forgive
talk to
her.
Dead Kennedy in space because we're running out of time, and I want to hear his opinion on the matter. How are you, mate?
I'm sorry, I was thinking about something else. No, but seriously, she's a pose. She's a snake oil saleswoman. Everything about her, the way she dresses, the way she talks, the parts of her body she chooses to accentuate, all point to Poe.
Yep, absolutely. Have I not spoken to anyone yet? Who's still in the room who I could talk to?
Caveman.
1 minute debunk. Are you still there in the background?
I think
No,
he
I
might
don't think
be.
he is. Oh, maybe. Well, if he is, you can come back in a minute. Logical Troglodyte, have I spoken to you yet?
You have. I put my 2 cents worth in a nickel.
Oh, that's right. I think I've got to the end of the list at this point. Dick Dawson, I've spoken to you, haven't I?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, unless 1 minute debunk can come off mute and chat to us quickly.
Hello.
Oh, hello, mate. How are you doing? What have you thought of the madness so far?
Oh, jeez.
It's pretty painful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so engineered.
Isn't it just?
It really is.
So she's a Poe in your mind, then. There's no doubt in your mind that she couldn't be actually serious.
I don't know. I don't like to say that people are posed because I feel that's a little thought policey, maybe. I don't mind if other people do. It's just that I like to be kind of neutral on that, give them the benefit of the doubt. But whether she's a Poe or not, it's engineered.
Fair enough.
Engineered.
Okay,
is a
that's
good
cool.
word.
Well, there's a couple more people in the room that we haven't chatted to yet who aren't on the list, but of course they're definitely here. Look, a pig. What do you think about all this fucking madness?
I want nothing to do with it.
He's playing it safe.
And that just leaves one person left in the room. What about you, Turquoise Laura? Do you have any opinion you'd like to share or not?
Oh, she and I had a fun Twitter chat before she blocked me. And I
You
think
did, right?
I'd got to say all I wanted to say to her at that point.
Okay.
She blocked me as well.
Oh,
And me.
dear. She does
And
have
poor
skin.
Radical, poor Radical, the unhallowed knight, he got blocked without saying a word to her.
Yeah, exactly. She knew it was coming, right? So she just did it.
Yeah.
It was a
Absolutely.
preemptive blocking.
Yeah.
Now look, I don't know who's been watching the side chat, but Turquoise Laura, Sarcastic Barman sometimes does, Chapmonk sometimes does, and Dick Dawson, you sometimes check the chat to see if there have been any messages or comments. Is there anything you thought you might like to bring forward before basically I wrap up for the evening?
Well, there's one here from Al Loop. You can't spell Orphan Red without P-O-E.
Say that one, yeah.
Yeah.
And
You're not
as my
wrong.
response to him, I can because I'm dyslexic.
And then he
Yeah,
put in
right.
another one that was good at the end, all about the Benjis.
Nice. Any more interesting comments? If there's anyone in the audience now, if you can type in quickly enough, get it up now.
Be quick,
What do we
be
got?
quick, be quick.
I think we're good, guys. We're pushing 2 hours. We better get this wrapped up.
Okay, well, look, if there's nothing else, that's fair enough. Look, we've had a lot of fun this week, right? We're all very glad to the audience that you came. I'm also personally very glad to everyone who's turned up today because it's been a lot of fun, the show, even if it's taken a little while. Just remember, if you like the show, subscribe, hit the bell. If you like the people in the show, go to their channel, subscribe, hit their bells. 1 Minute Debunk is an amazing content producer who you absolutely have to get over to right now and subscribe to. Seriously, you've got enough time in your day. You really don't have an excuse not to be watching that stuff. So I'm going to take us around the table. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone in turn. I'm going to do it in the usual order. Sarcastic Barman, how are you doing, mate?
I'm all good, thank you, Squire. Had a really good time on the show tonight. I would have to say to everyone, as well as hitting the like and subscribe button, please, please, please hit the share button. We're at 181 subscribers. It'd be awesome to hit the 200 mark before next week's show.
That's excellent advice. Thank you very much indeed. What about you, Drunk Monkey? Are you still sane?
Well, do you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to work tomorrow because I've fucking sprained my wrist face palming so fucking much.
How are you going to do it? Yeah, your job requires that, right?
There's bones sticking out, right? You know?
Oh my God. All right, we'll get it seen to you by a medical professional as soon as possible.
Yeah,
Dave Dawson, what do you think about it, mate? Are you going to say goodbye?
Yep, I want to say goodbye to everybody. Thanks for watching us. Please hit the like and subscribe button, as has already been said. I'm sorry we subjected you all to so much Orphan Red, but let's face it, it had to be done at some time, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, and coming up soon, we'll have a new show, our midweek talk show, where we'll have guests for interviews and stuff. So watch this space.
Cool. Anti-Flatter, what about you, man? Have you got anything to say to the crowd before you say goodbye?
Oh, no, just to everyone that came in to watch us. Yeah, thank you so much for watching and making it to the end.
Yeah, thank you very
If you
much.
like the video, give her a thumbs up, and as everyone says, we'd appreciate that share and that subscription. Till next time.
Yeah.
Ka kite.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Anti-Flatter. Let's move on to Logical Troglodyte next. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm very well, and thank you everybody for showing up. We had 28 hardcore individuals that stuck it out all the way till now.
Wow.
I thank you for that.
That's impressive, right?
I saw
that takes some guts. But I wanted to let everybody know that our friend and the Conspiracy is doing his 100 sub special live as we speak. When we close shop here, do go over and see him.
Yeah, he's a great performer, absolutely. Let's see, it's going to be AB Science next. See you next time, mate.
Well, yeah, thank you for joining. As everyone else has already said, there's an upturned thumb just below this video. Go and sit on it and enjoy.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Anything else to add? Sounds like it. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Everything has been said. I think everything has been said. So thank you for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, brilliant. And Dead Kennedy in Space, last on the list. How are you doing, mate?
I need some eye bleach. There is a pizza that's calling my name, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you over the curve, Space Cowboys.
Excellent. Right. Have I forgotten anyone? Is that everyone on the list? Shout out if I've missed you. That's cool. All right. Well, look, I've been Jabojo. Thank you very much for coming. I think if we do our little group goodbye, then Dick Dawson can sort of say goodbye to everybody in his inimitable way, and we can do the outro. How about that? So thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I've been Jimbojo. These have been the Shills. This has been the Silly Shill Show. Good night, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. And
Dick,
don't
why don't you
forget
take
to
us away,
watch
man?
this space. Our new midweek show's coming up in a few weeks, and we've got great new content coming for you. At that, I think Pig can cue the outroll.
Sure thing. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
On a rotating, whirling, twirling rock in space that is just a fantasy in your head.
Comes to a light in the sky being a gas in a vacuum. Second law of thermodynamics violation, a violation of a natural law.
Of the chemtrails, they put little, these nanobot things, that come down, come inside of us.